So this is going to be one of my first posts outside of filmmakers, which is a project I'm working on right now concerning Minneapolis and George Floyd, and police officers and chokeholds. Now, I did take jiu-jitsu, and I know about chokeholds, and they're very dangerous. A lot of chokeholds are at least in jiu-jitsu, they can be lethal. And I know from a former friend who's no longer with us because he lost his life in Afghanistan or somewhere. He wanted to be a police officer, but he ended up having to be a fireman and everything. That these chokeholds do come out of jiu-jitsu. Now, we're seeing a second death because this is not the first death by a police officer, the police officer using his knee to kill. This is not the first time. So, my request to solve the problem is to go ahead and restrict any type of chokeholds or pressure to the chest, back, and to the neck or areas, making that illegal. And also for the public to be aware of this, and of course to use the pen, which is mightier than the sword, or the phone, to report any type of murder, or killing. I'm also a believer that police officers, especially beat neck police officers, should only be able to carry stun guns, which I think we may have to probably go in that future. So my requests are no more lethal weapons. Now this means that citizens can. So citizens can have the right to defend themselves and form militias and all that stuff. So they can have their lethal weapons and assault rifles. But I don't think beat cops should be able to have them. So no more lethal weapons and no more chokeholds. And also just no more entry into houses. So a police officer would conduct an interview outside of the house or by phone. Let's say like a well-being check and stuff like that can be done by phone first, or outside of the home. And of course, if they have to attack the person inside the home for any particular reason, like, for example, the Amber Guyger case and the Aaron Dean case in Fort Worth, and the Amber Guyger was in Dallas. The guy was, eating ice cream in a very uncivil way and lost his life in his living room. If she had a stun gun only, then he would have been stunned. And then, of course, after being taken to the ER, he could have, got a lawyer and sued Amber Guyger. But instead of Amber Guyger has to do time, and Aaron Dean, don't know what's going to happen to him. Of course, the lady was holding a gun, which of course he had a gun too, but she was in her house, and so citizens should be able to have guns. Officers shouldn't, so they should be more like beat cops. Beat cops and things like that should be more like mall cops. So they should have stun guns and no chokeholds and things like that. Handcuffs and stuff like that should be debatable. Now, we should have SWAT. So if there's a case where we have to call out SWAT and solve the problems, I'm not against that. They can have assault rifles, sniper rifles. So I'm just saying regular beat cops, ones that pull you over and things like that. So they're not going to be able to pull you out of the car and throw you down and stick their knee on the back of your neck and kill you for whatever reason. I don't know exactly what George Floyd did. No one's ever talked about it, but I don't think it deserved, like immediate execution or immediate capital punishment. I thought it was, murder. So we'll have to find out what's going on. There's a lot of weird things happening since COVID has been around. People have been kind of restless and anxiety, and so there's a lot of incidents recently back to back where people are killing one another. The Georgia case, of course, was citizens forming an illegal road block, which was illegal roadblock to confront someone over theft, and they gave him the death penalty too. So, it seems like now is a time for us to go ahead and start changing the laws. So let's make the beat cops a little less lethal because it's getting scary. And let's kind of stress out, or let's put the stress on SWAT having a time when they're in a situation. And I'm not going to say something like Waco because, Waco, they just arrived and started shooting through the door. They shot David Koresh first, And that was over assault rifles and things like that. Um, and they had confirmed cases from the FBI and things like that. That assault rifles were there, and they just went in there and started shooting and killing until they killed a bunch of innocent people right on television. It's amazing how these things happen right on television or YouTube. So my suggestion to solve the problem is no more lethal weapons, because if you don't want them to get them in chokeholds, and you don't want police officers to get people in, where they're putting their knee on the back of the back or in the neck, that's lethal. Well, what's different than the lethal weapon? You know, I think a guy was shot in his car for like no reason and stuff. So that's a lethal weapon is more dangerous than the chokeholds. But the chokeholds are bad too. So if we're going to get rid of the chokeholds, which they're talking about doing, just get rid of the whole of the lethal weapon. But let the citizens have it, because we have the right to defend ourselves. So that's my request, and I'll go ahead and go ahead and now I'm not saying that all police officers are wrong, but I am saying that I'm 100% sure that there's a lot of people that are police officers that should not be police officers that are out there. And in some cases, they want to kill, okay? And these are the people the FBI need to be interviewing to find out who they need to get rid of as a possible officer out there that may have like some kind of weird thing going on in their head where they think, well, I'm going to, use lethal force in some kind of, traffic stop or something like that, So we need to review who needs to be a police officer. And any police officer that would want to wear a lethal weapon should be, interviewed and asked, well, why do you want to wear a lethal weapon? Or why would you want to put someone in a chokehold? These are questions that we need to ask. Why would you want to put someone in a chokehold? Because they're aggressive. They're out to do that. They've had their Slurpee. They've had their hot dog, right? And they're ready to go. That's not a police officer. A police officer is an agent of peace. They go for peace first. They should aggressively go for peace. They should know how to back off from a situation. They should know how not to start problems, and they should never be angry, ever. Even the smartest jiu-jitsu fighter or someone that's in martial arts will teach that anger is not the way to go when fighting. So anyway, that's what I wanted to say, is that we need to find out who should have the right to be a police officer, which these are going to be more people like scientists and people that are peace activists and stuff like that want to go out there and do it. And they're like, well, I don't want to wear a gun. I'll just radio in SWAT, or I'll just radio in a problem, whatever. And this is going to have to be on the side of the police officer to start making changes, as well as on the government to make them make changes. So we need to review the police departments. We need to get rid of a lot of people that are out there for the wrong reasons. And they always need to have body cameras, and they always need to be under review, especially the citizens. So watch out. If you see any of them that are out there and doing certain things like what happened with Floyd, be sure to record it. And also be aware and be on lookout, because we're watching.